We often think of design as just making things, a beautiful chair, a slick app. But what if a single personal project could do more? What if it could ripple outwards and actually transform an entire community? Well, in this explainer, we're diving into exactly that, the designer's ecosystem, and how we get from individual passion all the way to collective value.
So let's start with this really powerful idea from the legendary designer Laszlo Moholy-Nagy. He said, all design problems ultimately converge in one great problem, designing for life. It sounds huge, right? But what does that actually mean? What does it look like to design for life in the world we live in today?
Because that's a question that pushes us way beyond just aesthetics or how something works. It hints that design has this deeper responsibility, not just to our clients, but to our careers, our communities, and maybe even to ourselves. And that's exactly what we're going to unpack. To even begin to answer that, we've got to look at how the role of the designer is fundamentally shifting. A whole new identity is popping up, and it's this hybrid, the designer-entrepreneur. Think about it. For the longest time, design and business were seen as totally separate worlds. Sometimes they were even at odds with each other. But that's just not the case anymore. The core skills that make a great designer, turns out, they're the exact same skills that define a successful entrepreneur. The lines have completely blurred.
I mean, just look at this overlap. It's kind of stunning. Both are problem solvers. Both are innovators. Both are creative thinkers. An entrepreneur manages risk. A designer manages uncertainty. It's two sides of the same coin. One builds value, the other creates meaning. It's not just a few shared traits. It's a deeply shared mindset.
But this is so much bigger than just starting a business. It's a whole philosophical shift. The modern designer-entrepreneur is really becoming a designer of themselves. They're consciously weaving their personal values and their biggest life goals right into the fabric of their professional work. So the big question is, how do you keep all of that aligned?
Well, the answer lies in this really important concept called discursive culture. This diagram breaks it down beautifully. It shows how three core parts have to work in perfect harmony. Pensamiento, which is your thought or philosophy, praxis, which is your action, and productos, the final things you create. When these three overlap and align, that's when a designer truly brings their work and their life together.
So it all kicks off with thought, or pensamiento. This is the why. It's your core beliefs, your philosophy, the unique way you see the world. This is the internal compass that guides every single decision you make.
Next, that thought has to be translated into praxis. This is the how. It's the hands-on process, the daily actions, the specific methods you use to bring your ideas into reality. It's your philosophy in motion.
And finally, when you combine that deep thought with that intentional action, you get products. This is the what. It's the tangible stuff, the objects, the services, the systems that you actually put out into the world for others to experience.
And when you get all three of those pieces, the why, the how, and the what, all working together, that's when you have a strong discursive culture. It's like the invisible bridge that makes sure what you believe, what you do, and what you make are all telling the same story. That coherence, that's the secret sauce for truly authentic and impactful work.
Okay, so a designer builds this really authentic, aligned culture. But where do they put it? Where does it live? Well, they build a venture. And for this new kind of designer, a venture is so much more than just a business. It's a life project.
Right, so that discursive culture we were just talking about, the venture becomes the main stage for it. It's the physical, real-world expression of their personal philosophy. It's the space where their big life project actually takes shape and starts to breathe.
There's this quote from the source material that just nails it. The venture becomes a space where being and doing coalesce in daily practice. It's where that line between who you are and what you do just completely disappears.
All right, so we've got the designer and we've got their venture. But here's the thing, they don't exist in a bubble. They are part of a much larger environment, an ecosystem. And we can start to see this ecosystem as a true place of life. And when we say entrepreneurial ecosystem, we're talking about the whole network. It's the investors, the universities, other companies, the local culture, government policies. It's all these interconnected pieces that either help new ideas flourish or let them wither on the vine.
But here's a much more profound way to look at it. Instead of some cold mechanical system, what if we reframed it as a lugar de vida, a place of life? Just that simple shift in perspective changes everything. The ecosystem is no longer just a place to work. It becomes a living, breathing community where people are building their lives.
And this diagram right here, it really brings that idea to life. An ecosystem isn't some static thing. It's a dynamic, cyclical system. You can see from the arrows how value and energy flow through it, get transformed, and then get reinvested, making the entire community stronger over time.
So let's follow the energy here. It starts with inputs, things like resources and new ideas. The designer's venture then takes those inputs and transforms them. The output is new value, things like innovation or new business models. But here's the most important step, recursivity. That new value doesn't just disappear, it feeds back into the system, enriching the entire place of life for everyone else. And of course, this whole cycle doesn't just happen on its own. It's supported by some really key elements: the local culture, access to financial support, existing markets, other entrepreneurs, and just the general economic conditions. All these things shape what's even possible in that place of life. So we've zoomed way out from the designer to this whole ecosystem. Now let's bring it full circle and look at the designer's real impact as a strategic agent of change within this living system.
Because in this context, the designer's job becomes so much bigger than just making a cool product, because they have this unique ability to think across different fields and to create meaning. They become a strategic agent. They're a catalyst. They're a vital connector who can see the whole system and spot opportunities that nobody else can.
What happens then is their impact just snowballs, right? It becomes this virtuous cycle. They act as translators, connecting knowledge between totally different fields. They spark a culture of innovation. By seeing connections others miss, they unlock new value. And by tailoring solutions to what the community actually needs, they generate both economic and social good, which strengthens their entire place of life.
And that really brings us back to the core idea, and a big question for all of us. We've seen how one person's project, when it's deeply aligned with who they are, can ripple out and become a collective good. So it's worth asking yourself, no matter what you do, how can you be a strategic agent in your own place of life?